Hi, everybody. We have such a special occasion for you today. If you're familiar with my podcast, you know that we recently changed the format and I wasn't going to be interviewing guests, but I have such an opportunity. I didn't want to pass it up. So, our Always Connected podcast will be back next week. But for now, we are honored to have with us Lee Carroll, who channels Kryon, and his soulmate, Monica Moranyi. They're going to tell you all about themselves and how they became known as, well, let's let them tell you what they are. But Lee is well known around the world as one of the best and most well known channelers. And Monica is always at his side, and you'll understand why when we dive in today to this wonderful couple. Welcome to the show, Lee and Monica.
Well, welcome, welcome. I was saying I'm one of the most well known only because I'm the oldest, and that's what happens. And as far as us being on your show here, when you changed the format, does that have anything to do with the fact that we came to your house and rang the bell and pleaded?
No, it was that $20 bill you slipped.
Oh, now,
Just
now we know.
kidding. Just
Thank you.
kidding.
It's about time.
It is.
So pleased we're here.
And what an honor.
Yeah.
What an honor to be here with you, Suzanne.
Well, thank you. I've been on your program Wednesdays with Kryon a couple of times, and I'm going to be on again soon. And that's always just wonderful to interact with you both, to be with kindred spirits and souls who get it.
I wonder if your crowd is here. I know you're going to ask questions, but I'm going to give answers before you ask them, which means that I'm probably a precog. And here's I want to say: many would ask, "How did I meet you?" And I want to say to people that I never met you. I just heard what you were doing and wanted to know you. And that was when I heard you were working with helping parents heal. And that got me just right from the get-go. I want to know this woman. So that's why one of the reasons we ever met.
Thank you. Well, I have not had many channelers on my program. I do channeling, and there are a lot of people who do channel, and there's something about the energy that one can easily discern. This is a true connection versus this person, maybe their own filters are open a little bit wide. And with you, Lee, it's a true channel that I've respected since I first heard Kryon. But I will say right up front, Kryon is more in vernacular out there than the guides who I channel. You go into territory that my guides have never taken me into. And yet, when I tune into it, there's truth there. So it's very interesting walking that fine line between, well, I don't know whether I can trust this, and knowing the truth.
I think that's a beautiful description, Suzanne. And being an outsider to both of you, I feel that Kryon came in to help all of humanity with this shift of consciousness that we're going through, which is probably why there's that out there place. It's like we are so much bigger than we were told, and there's a bigger truth, and Kryon is here to reveal that to us. And I feel the work that you're doing on the planet is sparking that heart-opening connection within us to that bigger truth.
That's it. Oh, I love that. It's yeah.
And even in our work, people ask that all the time. They say, how can I believe you? How can I believe other channels? Is there a litmus test? And I've said the same pretty much as you said. We have discernment engines if we wish to use them inside. How does it feel? And then there's a whole list of things that actually I found that was written many years before I started channeling about how you can tell. And it's really interesting. It's like, does the channeler promote themselves? Does the channeler tell you to do things you wouldn't otherwise do? It goes as it's a real test. And then you realize, and you have some guidelines that way. But basically, do you feel it or not?
That's very interesting that you mentioned that, Lee, because I started channeling before I had ever studied or read anything about it. It just happened, and I allowed it to happen. And it was only later when I found a book on channeling, just like you said, it said, this is how you can tell a real channel. And I went down the list and I said, well, I know this is real, but how affirming to see that we fit the bill here.
That's true.
I know that our audience would love to know how this channeling came about for you. And then I want to know how Monica came in to be in such a deep partnership with you in this work. So why don't you just take it away where you're guided?
I will give you the short version because it's a long story that is very funny, and I've given it many, many times. But I want to just give a short version because I don't want to talk about myself as much as perhaps what happened at the moment that I started.
Oh, good.
I am an engineer by trade. I have an economics degree as another one, and I was in my mid-40s when this took place. And what took place is easy to describe. I was married to a woman who is very metaphysical, Jan Tober, at the time. She, by the way, is still our best friend. Monica and I see her every week.
Oh, nice.
Jan Tober was woo-woo. And I was not. I mean, not even close to being woo-woo. Very, very much linear, right brain thinking, the whole thing.
Lee, I have to interrupt you a second because as you just said that, I'm trying to picture what's coming. And I'm trying to picture my husband, the destroyer captain, and there is no way he would ever be channeling. And this is what this sounds like.
It does. It does. So you may relate to some of this because when I married her, I knew that she was this way. Now, it may be different for you because it happened to you perhaps later. But I told her right off the bat, don't bother me with your woo-woo. Just don't do it. And we agreed. That's fair enough. You know, our marriage was not based on belief systems, but at some point in time, of course, she came up and she said, "Look, there's a guy in town who channels, and I'd like you to go." And I said, "No." And she says, "It's my birthday." "Oh, I'll go." So I did.
Good.
My first experience, it was not a good one. His name was Frank Alper. He's passed now. But I sat in front of him. I thought I was going to be in a group, and it wasn't. It was one guy, and I sat almost kneecap to kneecap with him. And he just, for 45 minutes, he just gibberish. I had my cassette player there. I mean, I had no idea what he was talking about. I didn't care because the cassette was for Jan, not me. So I was having a reading from him for her. Enough. I was done. I looked at her. I said, "Don't ever do that again. Here's your birthday present." Gave her the cassette. That's done. 3 years later, the same thing happened. She said, "There's a guy in town." And I said, "No." She said, "Look, he's a young man. The first guy was in his 60s. This guy's in his 20s. He's a 20-minute reading. That's all. Just come on." And I said, "Okay, we'll go to lunch afterwards and it'll be fine." So that's what we did. And I walked into this guy, had my cassette ready. And he looked at me and he said, "You don't want to be here, do you?" And I went, "Whoa, he really is psychic." And he said, "You don't even have to sit down. I have a message for you." And I said, "Okay, fine. Let me get my cassette going." So I got my cassette going and said, "Here's the message. There's a magnetic master named Kryon who's trying to get a hold of you." And that was it. I was the fastest one. And I said, "Is it going to cost me the same?" He said, "Yes." And I went back to Jan. I said, "It's the fastest. This is only one message." But I didn't hear Kryon. I'm an engineer. I'm in regular life. I heard Krylon.
Oh, no.
It's a rust preventative spray paint.
Yeah.
And so I went back to Jan and I said, "Spray paint wants to talk to me." The thing is, I just said, it's just woo-woo stuff. She probably understands that spray paint stuff because people are metaphysical or nuts. So that is where it all started. Here's what I want to tell you, short version. I got to thinking about it and I said, that phrase that the guy told me, I think the first guy said the same thing.
Oh, no kidding.
And so I went back and found the cassette. And I waited, and Jan was gone to the store. I didn't want her to think that I was interested, and I found that cassette in her cassette department. Remember cassettes, everybody?
Oh, no? Gosh, yeah.
So I found the cassette. I started playing it. I was like right back there with him, and I heard it. There's a magnetic master named Kryon trying to get a hold of you.
Okay.
About 43 minutes in, that's what he said that. Of course, that was just gibberish back then. I stopped the tape and realized I was in trouble. I have a very succinct, logical mind, and I deal with reality. Two guys 3 years apart who didn't know each other, 40 years difference in age, gave me the same statement about an entity that nobody had ever heard of yet.
Yeah.
What do I do? And it bothered me because of my kind of mind that wants solutions, it wants balance, it wants everything in its place. That's who I'm going. That's what the economics degree is for. All of these things are me. So what I did, and this is what I want to tell you, this is what I want everybody to hear more than anything else. I was not a metaphysical guy. I was not a spiritual guy. Truly, at that time, I was a recording engineer in a recording studio in San Diego. And I'll tell you what happened is I couldn't leave it alone. I just couldn't leave it alone. So finally, I got into a room by myself. I put a chair in the middle of the room, and I said these words. I said, Kryon, or whoever you are, I'm going to sit in the chair and give you one chance. It's either real or it isn't real. Now, to everybody, you think that's fair? I do. These things are either real or they're not real. I mean, to me, there was either black or white. And I was ready to give away a moment of my time, suspend my belief, and let spirit do whatever it was they wanted to do. What do you think I expected?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe any of it was real at that point in time in my mid-40s. I'm 81 now, so you can see what has happened there.
Yeah.
Now, here's what I want to tell the audience. Here's what I want you to remember. When I sat in the chair, almost instantly, I had the closest I can describe to an NDE experience. I heard the music, I saw the light, I was whisked to a place that I couldn't believe. I didn't want to come back. It's the most beautiful, compassionate love I'd ever felt. There was nothing even close to it. I felt hugged by spirit. I felt taken care of. I felt the light. I think I heard my name being sung in light. It was the most awesome thing to this day that has ever happened to me. And when I came back, I was angry.
Oh, no, seriously.
Huh. I was angry.
Oh, because you have to shift your whole belief system now.
Actually, I was more angry at the idea that nobody ever told me.
Oh, I can't imagine that Jan hadn't been trying to tell you.
You know, she had, and this is part of the anger at myself for probably not listening. But I'd gone to church. They never told me about this. They told me about a God that would judge me. They told me if I didn't do the right thing, I was going to be tortured forever. I mean, that's what I got. I didn't get any of this, and yet I had experienced it profoundly. That started everything. And that's what I wanted to tell, just from the get-go. That doesn't, and from there we go to the books and all the thing and a career, but that was the beginning. And then, of course, I had to tell Jan. and I did in my own way without crying that something had happened. And she sat and listened. And she said, well, it took long enough.
Yeah.
Because she had known all along at some level that she was dealing with what I call a closet old soul.
Yeah. And definitely destiny that you were supposed to be together, and all of that unfolded the way it did.
It did. Wow. And that's why we had the relationship.
Oh, yes.
And when it was over, she admitted that. She said, that's why we had come together. Now we move on. And now it was just obvious that was the whole purpose. Yeah.
Wow. So for those who aren't familiar with Kryon, tell us how you first made your acquaintance and why magnetic.
Now, are you speaking of Monica and I, or are you talking about?
I'm about Kryon. We want to get to Monica.
Okay. Because when you talk about,
we're keeping you waiting there, Monica, but we have to lay the foundation.
I know, but when you talk about magnetics, that's because I'm drawn to her.
There you go.
Can you tell I kind of lean this direction? Right. The magnetic master was because of the physics that was involved later that we started working with, and now when I started getting letters from physicists and saying, tell us more, because they had tuned into some of the channels that were there. The very early Kryon said, the magnetic grid of the planet is related to our consciousness. You cannot separate that.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand that. Of course, later we have in 2001 we have HeartMath that proved it. We have the Princeton University that had the experiment that proved it. The consciousness is energy, and the waves of consciousness that were put out at the 2001 event, a terrorist event, actually changed the magnetic field. And that's 2 satellites picked that up. It also changed what they call random number generators, which was chance. It changed everything. That wave of consciousness of people being startled or compassionate actually changed physics that morning. And they all registered and picked it up. And this is what Kryon was talking about. The magnetics of this planet actually are related to our consciousness. And that was just a hint that if that's so, what else is related to our consciousness? And the answer is just about everything. It gives us the ability to do soul traveling. It gives us the ability to change physics, perhaps, but most of all, it gives us ability to heal ourselves, to talk to our cellular structure. It just goes on and on. So this was I would say, the first connection with magnetics.
Very good. So now tell me about this magnetic connection with this woman next to you. Why don't you tell us, Monica?
What happened when I first saw you? Or just that embarrassing when I fell over? I mean, it's almost that way.
It was mutual. And really, for me, it was not anything I could anticipate, because growing up in Australia, I was a park ranger, actually, in the national parks. And I was happily married to someone else who worked in the national parks with me. We were best mates. We would go fishing all the time. We would just live this outdoors lifestyle. And I didn't believe in any kind of need for religion or anything like that, even though I grew up with this very strong Catholic religion mother, always had that presented to me. But I'd kind of rejected it. But then one day when my husband left and the marriage dissolved, I was so heartbroken and was just kind of, I'm sure many of your viewers have had moments of this where you just feel stripped raw and it's almost hard to breathe. It's almost hard to continue, and it's disorienting because you don't even have anywhere in your landscape to clutch to. And so I was in that state, I would say, of readiness to have things come to me that I wouldn't have allowed to come to me in this happy marriage environment.
Yeah.
And so one of the rangers I worked with kept saying, you should go see Linda, my wife. She does spiritual hearing and Reiki. And I didn't want any part of it. But he was so persistent and so gentle. I was just literally screaming, going, okay, I'm going to see her just so you will shut up about having me see her. And so that really was a catalyst of awakening to me. The end result was that I moved to New Zealand for a space of time, and I was working in the national parks there. And the very first yoga class that I went to, now obviously I started exploring topics of consciousness and was hungry for information. And in my yoga class, someone gave me Kryon book 7, Letters from Home. And every cell in my body just really responded to that. And there was a lady in that book who had an energy work called EMF balancing technique. Her name was Peggy Phoenix DeBro. And years later, after doing her training, I went to South America to meet Peggy and do some training. And lo and behold, Lee was also there with Peggy because they were presenting at a seminar. And when
did you know he would be there?
I had no idea. Absolutely no idea. And he came into Peggy's class. I remember feeling this energy that was coming towards the door. And then when Lee came in and stood there, I was mesmerized. But part of me is going, oh, this is just because it's Lee Carroll, Kryon channel. And so I was trying to rationalize why I was thinking this way. But we kept running into each other at the hotel, and my heart would constantly pound in my chest. And we just kept meeting each other. And in fact, one morning at breakfast, Lee gave me a card, his personal business card. And on the back, he said, "This is my personal email. I don't give this out to just anyone." And he had my name with a little heart drawn on it. And I still carry that card in my wallet.
Oh, that's cool. Now, how long ago was that?
That was in 2008.
Okay.
That we first met, and there was that magnetic pull. And so we had that magnetic pull. At the time, though, it's so interesting, Suzanne, because when I was going to South America, I had this list of, I want to meet my soulmate.
Oh, look at that.
I would love my soulmate to be financially independent. I would love my soulmate to be spiritually minded. I had this whole list, but I never included, I wanted them to be single and available, because at the time he was married to the wife after Jan, and we just had to navigate that situation. And it took us a while to figure it out in a way that's benevolent as much as it can be to the other person. But it was clear that we had known, I tell people I've known Lee for 26,000 years. And it's because we knew we had this deep connection together. And over 2012 was when I started writing The Gaia Effect, because Kryon talked so much about the partnership we have with Earth. And because of my experience as a park ranger, I wanted to bring that to people's awareness that our Earth is alive and she's a partner with us, and we share an alignment with her. So that was kind of the birth of all the books that I've written since that time. And then during COVID of 2020, it just opened up this space for us to work together online and brought us together in a deeper way in the Kryon work than ever before. But, it was Kryon that pushed us together, but it was our love, soulmate connection that brought us together. And I can't even separate Kryon and Lee in our relationship, because it's all blended and merged as one.
Right. And since I've come to know both of you, I see how beautifully you work together. The Kryon Wednesdays with Kryon events always include the two of you, and you flow together. And we did an event together in Orlando, Florida, and it was beautiful to see you in action there. And in fact, we have an event together coming up in Asheville, North Carolina.
We do indeed. And it's, as you can attest, there is something magic that happens when you have everybody in a room together, that in person. I love to hug people and touch people, and it's great being like this in this virtual, like feel all my hugs and kisses to everyone watching, but it's even better when we're in a room together. So I'm really looking forward to that opportunity.
Yeah, the Kryon Soul Healing Retreat is the name, in Asheville, April 4th and 5th. I have it as a featured event on my homepage, and I'm sure it's on your website as well. Lee, what can people expect at that?
We're going to have not only a plethora of channeling, but we do some things now that we've never done before. In all the history, I think, of meeting in the 36 years I've been together, it was only 2 years ago that Kryon started a very special kind of meditation called the green mist. And that is a healing meditation, and it results in healing. The very first one we ever had, we got reports right away of those who literally left their canes behind. It was an energy that I had never expected, and yet it is happening. And so we're going to include that, as well as the channeling that always has happened. We teach a little. Of course, you're going to be there, and we just expect really good things.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing some channeling too, which I don't get an opportunity to do in person very often, except on my cruises. But I have also experienced the healing that takes place because of that energy that we're bringing through. And it's humbling to see people that were in pain or given diagnoses that are taken away. So that's not promised for everyone, but it's a benefit that happens.
It's true.
We're all witnesses to that.
I rarely talk about the things that I've seen because it just sounds grandiose. Sounds like we're advertising. all that. But you and I both have seen it.
Yeah.
And it's not just humbling, man, it makes you just want to sing. When you see somebody out of pain and they were in pain a moment ago,
Yeah, those are miracles. To me, a miracle is when we become aware that there is a greater reality and we're part of it. So that's what all of this is about. Lee, you knew some pain in the last year or two. You had some major health issues. How did what you know from your work with Kryon and your metaphysical work with Monica, how did that help you navigate that perhaps unexpected journey?
I'll tell you what it was very briefly again, and it was something that it helped me quite a bit, but it helped a lot of people to understand. First of all, when we're in metaphysics, we're told don't go to the hospital. That's number one. We're not told it's an either or. You can have energy work or you can have medicine, and don't mix them up. Wow. And that's the first thing that I learned. You can mix them up. Yes, I have to mix them up. Yeah. And there is a place for them. And when I got to the place where the doctor said, we're not going to give you very long to live, and because you need a new heart valve, there's a hole in your heart. By the way, my father died from that. There is also, you need a bypass. You're in a mess. When I met with the surgeon, finally, he says, normally we don't do this on people your age. And this was like 50 years ago, I believe. And I just looked him in the eye and said, but I'm different. And he got it. And they went ahead. And here's what Kryon said to me. He said, you're in the hospital because you waited too long. Didn't pay any attention to the signs that all of us have been giving you for a long time. Wow. And he's right. So you've got to pay attention, even though you don't want to. Everybody listen, especially in the heart areas. You must pay attention. The first time it starts to murmur or do anything else, find out. Because there were ways to deal with this, much more than open heart surgery, where they stop your heart for half a day, it seems, I don't know, whatever it is, and do all the repairs. Here's what Kryon told me. He says, I want you to do something that nobody's ever been told. And I said, what? Ready. I'm ready. He says, welcome the invader.
Yeah.
He says, tell your body, all the cells, because a cellular structure is going to go into shock when it's operated on. You can't help that, you might say. That's the way the body is built. It reacts that way. You go into shock when you're cut open in any single way. So welcoming the invader was what Kryon says. You're going to talk to your cells way before this operation, over and over. Welcome the invader because it's exactly what you need. And then what's going to happen next? And he told me, Kryon, she. Kryon told me this. He said, watch the recovery, because when you have welcomed the invader, there will not be the recovery needed from having been in shock. And boy, were they right. I was climbing stairs in the hospital with the therapist, and they said, take it easy. And I said, no, we're climbing more stairs. When I got home, there was a nurse assigned to come to see me every week. They just signed me off when they first saw me because I was climbing the stairs. And in other words, the recovery was awesome. Yeah. It was beyond awesome. And we were signed off. Nurses said they'd never seen anything like this before, because Kryon guided me through the combination of medicine and consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And your experience becomes a lesson for everybody else. So I just love
that's what it did.
Everything.
I've had so many people write in, and Monica knows this because we have a place to write things, the miracles that have happened, where they've used this very thing. And they said, whoa, what a difference that has made. Because we naturally fear surgery. We don't want to go there. But suddenly, if we're on board with it and talking to ourselves and saying, look, what's coming is going to be really good. Welcome the invader.
That's awesome. Well, we're happy you're so healthy. And
I am
amazing
happy too.
At 81. Yes. Monica, what's the number one personal thing for you that you have learned from Kryon?
I think that it's hard to put that into a soundbite, actually. And it's almost like you have this relationship that continues to grow and unfold and expand. And I feel that if I could try and summarize everything that Kryon has allowed me to know to then convey to everyone else. We are so loved beyond measure.
Yeah.
That if nothing else gets through to you, it doesn't matter who you've been, what you've done. Spirit doesn't care. You are loved beyond measure. Your true nature, your true essence is part of the Creator. That is something to embrace and get to know at a deeper level, because once you really cognize that all of you is eternal, you had no beginning, you had no end, you emerge from that soup of the Creator energy, and that's what you merge back into once you have passed through this temporary journey on earth. And all that exists there is love embodied. It's really hard to just put all that into a soundbite, but I think that's really what Kryon has conveyed to me through so many different mediums and messages, and whether it's through the Star Mothers bringing us back in through storytelling, or whatever the source is, you are the eminence of love.
And the reason that I laughed when you first said that, with your very first answer, is because my guide Sanaya, since they've been giving me daily messages, end every message with "You are so very loved."
Oh,
our people know that.
It's one thing to know it and another to cognize it, though. Really, I think
believe it.
And to believe it. And I feel that many of us who come in as light workers, we're so invested in wanting to give to others and be in service to others. It's really hard. And this is one phrase that Kryon uses over and over, is to sit and be loved. And that message is telling us to allow ourselves to receive. And often we're programmed to not do that, isn't it? Like, I grew up with a mum that if you give her, oh, don't give me that. Or if she got a gift, she'd try and re-gift it. Or, you know, you're in that thing of you're not worthy to receive. That's a lot of the programming as well. So it's knowing that I am not just worthy to receive, but the more I can receive, the more I can give out.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, as I listen to you there, that how much you pick up on Kryon's energy just being with Lee 24/7. I'm in my husband's energy all the time, and I can tell when I pick up his thoughts and his energy, and I'll say, oh, that's not my emotion right now, that sort of thing. Have you been in that field of Kryon's transmission so much that you sense them yourself, even though we all have our own guides?
I would say that I sense it in a more subtle way to the way that Lee senses it. So it's like I hear maybe a knock on the door, whereas for Lee, the door has been knocked down and here I am, you know, like Kryon comes in very strongly, and I'm feeling it from an intuitive sense. How is it for you? Is that a fair description?
I could say things I probably shouldn't say.
Let's hear it. Let's hear
it. You can't really define channeling in a very linear way. It's really, really tough because it involves all of the multidimensionality pieces and parts of your mind, your pineal, everything that works together. When Monica has been asked to teach alone, and I've watched her do this, I've seen her not just emulate what Kryon has said, but become Kryon and say it.
That's what I was sensing. Yeah.
So you're right in that sense, very, very much. She will not say she's channeling yet, but in her own way, she truly is. Now, even though she'll say she's echoing what Kryon has said, what's the difference? I mean,
it's coming through real time, though. So
it's coming through real time. So it is not my style. It is not necessarily what you would expect from a channel, but definitely she is.
Yeah.
I would also say that it's very similar to this movie that we saw called Arrival. And this was a movie where you had all of these objects coming from outer space, landing on Earth, and no one knew what it was. And the only person that could kind of start communicating with these non-human beings was a linguist. And so she was starting to decode the messages that were coming from these other beings. And, you know, it's a beautiful movie because at the end, instead of them coming to destroy us, they were from the future, time traveling back into the past, asking us for help in order to then save us at a future point as well. But in the process, she became multidimensional because the language she was studying required that. And that's why when we start flooding ourselves and our consciousness with messages that are dripping with love and emanate from that eternal fountain of the creator of all things, we start to then move into that field of consciousness, and then we start expressing it in our own unique way with our own unique vocabulary.
Yeah.
And it's almost, I guess, I don't know, channeling by osmosis.
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm laughing again because I trained as a linguist and now doing channeling.
I love that.
But the new step that I'm experiencing in my personal meditations is wordless transmissions. No words at all. And I know in one burst what the guides are saying to me, and I send my answer back without words. It's very hard to put into words. But I would love, Lee, if you would then shift now to talking about what are the most recent messages from Kryon, because over the years, I'm sure there are things that have stayed the same, but you've been doing this long enough that where are we going?
There's a lot of things that have stayed the same, and there's a lot of things that have shifted greatly and grandly. There are those who would say, and they get this perhaps from what they've heard in church, and that is God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And we use the word God, Spirit, Creator, and the same. And that is a correct phrase. But what is different is that we change. And so the relationship to God is not the same yesterday, today, and forever. The relationship is changing. And the relationship is changing because we are changing. We're starting to come out of this shift that was predicted by the ancients. It was even predicted by the church. And that is that in the years of 2000s, there would be difficulty. There may be an Armageddon, there may be a rapture. You've heard it, the end of the world. That's a difficult time. Even the ancients told us about it. And we have just gone through almost the entirety of it. It was known, the timing was known, all there. You can read it. It's about 94 to 2030. It's called the precession of the equinoxes. It's an expected consciousness shift. Just ask the Maya, because they put it in their calendars for you to read. So here we are coming out of that. We're in the last 5 years. And Kryon says now the shift starts to change. Now we are going to come out in the sun. He said there's a dimensional shift that is going to happen this year. Now that sounds like a major thing. Get ready for it. Hang on to where that's not the way it is. Dimensionality is measured literally by the attributes of your reality. So, height, width, breadth, time, whatever just goes on and on. What can you see? What is it that you can envision? What is it that becomes your reality? So a dimensional shift is a change of reality. And we're looking at that right now, and things are looking up. So just for the audience, you want to really take advantage of this, that I would say, light that's coming out. I'll give you one hint. If you want to actually activate it, if you're a light worker looking at this and you understand what I'm talking about, and you're holding your breath and know, what can I do to activate this dimensional shift? I'm going to tell you right now, And it may not be easy for some of you. And for some of you, it'll go, is that all there is? And that is this.
Yep.
Have more joy. Laugh more. Joy is the catalyst for enlightenment. You can't help it. It just is. Do you know the things that pass completely through the veil without being untouched? One is joy, humor. The other is music. Yeah, right from the other side. So I want to tell my audience, things are looking up. Expect better intuition. Expect things to start being solved, wrapped up, concluded that haven't been for years. We've been through a tough set of years here. So affirm. I have an exercise I want to tell you before I stop talking.
Oh, please.
We have the exercise is every day. Monica has seen me do it. Is you swing your legs around when you get up in the morning, put your feet on the floor. Now stop 30 seconds. That's all it's just going to take, 30 seconds. And I want you to give gratitude for all the things you have. That's perhaps that you have a bed to sleep in, you're not hungry. Perhaps there's love in your life and all the things that you're grateful for. 30 seconds. List them, go over them out loud or not in your brain. What happens next is you have just set the template for the day. And what happens next is joy is far easier to come and laugh right away. Joy is a release. Have you ever had a situation where you had a big belly laugh and you hadn't felt very good and suddenly go, oh my God, that was so good, it's good. And you feel some release. And that's the chemistry in your body doing something for you. It takes you to a level where you have a closer connection with spirit, takes you to a level of better maturity and understanding and mature. It's all there. So this is what spirit is talking about. Learn to laugh more and be joyful and do it daily. I'm working this puzzle. This is for me. So all of the things that I am talking about is for me. It's for Monica, for both of us. We talk about it every day.
And you're putting that out into the universe. As each person, I tell people, as it's like we're all we're on a dimmer switch. As we turn up our light, it brightens the whole noosphere. I'll bet you know that term.
Kryon has had a tiny little parable forever. I think ever since the first book, and we're going back in here too. It took me 3 years, by the way, after Kryon came to me to honestly work with it and believe it. Okay. After my experience, because we're stubborn human beings and we have to get out of a groove of a reality we've been in or told about or believed by people we trusted in order to get to where, we can start thinking for ourselves and working the puzzle. Kryon's little metaphor is this: there's a dark room and one person lights a match. And in that, more people can then see in a dim light where they couldn't see at all before. And the attributes of this is nobody knows who the match holder is. It doesn't matter who the match holder is. And when you can start seeing each other, then you start trusting each other more instead of being in the dark and just feeling and hoping that you're not going to be hurt. And then somebody else starts to light a match because they saw the one other person light it and they learned how. And then, of course, the rest is obvious. And so this is the same kind of a thing. And so we are all match holders at some level. Because when we light that match, it's not just for us. It's always for everything around us. I'll give you a little example because we're looking at what is your divine purpose? And Kryon says, your divine purpose is whatever makes you happy and drops into your heart that makes you sing. That's your divine purpose. It's not something written in stone in heaven that you have to accomplish. It's you. Accomplish whatever it is. And when you do whatever you do, let's say it's you hugging a tree. And that's your divine purpose. That makes your heart sing. That's all you want to do. And people have written and they've said, well, how does this help the planet? Well, me hugging a tree is my divine purpose. And I'm saying you have no idea what your consciousness is doing at that point. You're singing in your heart and it goes everywhere. It goes into the atmosphere. It goes into the tree. It goes into the ground. It goes into your body. It goes into anybody who can hear or see or watch. It's affecting everything. Just that simple thing. Because that's what love does. That's what compassion is like. It's catchy, and it transmits itself much more than fear, much more than fear. And that's what we're about. That's why we're here.
Wow. Awesome. Yep. And it's so funny how many things you're talking about today. I just brought up in a class I taught this morning about humor and joy and music and what we transmit and our passion, because these are repeating themes that people need to really make part of their lives. So I know that I get into sometimes when I'm very human. I always know in the background who we really are. Do you two couples are often like stovepipes, when one is up, the other goes down, and vice versa. Do you two maintain pretty much even keel, or do you sometimes have to remind each other?
I'm the one that does this. And Lee's like the stabilizer.
I'm older, so I'm more stable. Long ago, I learned, and when Kryon gave this to me, I don't get angry anymore. I get disappointed. And so there's no anger button anymore, just disappointed button. And we are stovepipes for one another. And that is why this relationship works so well, because we bolster each other when we need to. And then when we're both perhaps down a little, we just know not to talk to each other.
There you go. Like normal couples, right?
Yeah. We still have our little niggles here and there. But...
Yeah. It really truly is. Life is this way. As you point out, we have to navigate the reality we have and the culture we have and the jobs we have and all of that. We've got to do it as best we can, holding this mantle that we are teaching. But it's not that hard to hold. That's what I would love to tell everybody. When you get to this place where you awaken to this bigger truth, that you are magnificent, you have a soul that's magnificent, broaching Suzanne's department here, everyone you've loved and lost is still here in some way. And these are such beautiful ideas, and the compassion of them and the love of them and all of these are the things we love to teach and talk about that people perhaps don't know or haven't heard before. And then you start understanding that the mantle you carry of compassion is very attractive to most people. They just want to be with you. And then for yourself, it is something that gives you much more peace, and you can live a lot longer.
Yeah. I think too, part of what I feel from Lee is that we often have a lot of gratitude and appreciation for each other. And it goes a long way, because you can fall into this trap of just taking things for granted. But I'm always reminding myself that, wow, we get to be together. We get to have another day together. We get to play together. And sometimes it takes effort to revitalize things. And we like having fun with each other. So, for example, I was really into the Minions when the Minion movie came out. So Lee would buy these Minions and hide them in the house. So if I'm opening the freezer, I've got this Minion that's staring right at me from the freezer. And then, Lee kept going on about having a pet hamster. And then one time I found an actual plush toy that looked like a real hamster.
Realistic,
and got it for him.
Realistic.
And every now and then I'll hide it. I'll put it under the bed, or I'll put, it's about having fun at the end of the day.
My inner child is alive and well.
That's good. Excellent. Wow. So what does Kryon tell us that we can all look forward to as the veil thins?
You can look forward to having better intuition, first of all. I like this a lot. Intuition, you know what channeling is? It's a steady stream of intuition.
Yeah.
It's when the gate opens and you're reading the field, and you're able to talk about what the consciousness is around you and all those things. Well, even you start closing that a little bit and the whole is small, that is like human intuition. Have you ever had a situation where you really did have an intuitive flash of something you needed to do, or, didn't do, or something that was going on around you, or something you left in the freezer, you shouldn't have done it, whatever. And it comes and goes so fast. It goes, and you go, what was that? Should I pay attention to it? Consider that particular thing slows down. It goes, and you're going looking at it. Oh, really? Oh, really? That would be enhanced intuition. Yeah. Those who are light workers can start feeling that. I'll bet, and I haven't asked you, Suzanne, but I'll bet that's part of your sensibility too, because you can see what you need to see, and it doesn't flash by. It is. Comes and sits in front of you and talks to you. That is what I'm talking about. So that's the first thing I tell people in this new energy. Look for better guidance. But if you're going to be serious about it, you're going to have to take yourself into a little more joyful attitude for that. So better guidance, I think, is one of the first things we're going to feel.
Okay. Very good. But we don't have to be happy and joyful all the time. Just start looking at our thoughts. Right?
Yeah, I think that's part of where the self-compassion comes in, and give yourself permission to just move through that experience.
We can't be Pollyannas. That's just like, give yourself permission to laugh occasionally, especially those who don't. And this is, I have met so many down, I would say down in the mouth or whatever you call it, light workers. And it's like, oh, thank you for coming to my meeting. Yes, I was very happy to do it.
Oh my.
It's like, and I say, well, what's wrong? Well, I don't know whether I'm doing anything right. And here you go. And this is the self-doubt, even though you know better. Pull out of it, folks, because you have so much to be happy about that you perhaps haven't even looked at. You have to generate something of this yourself. You can't just lay around and wait for the happy angel. You're going to have to do a little work.
I have to tell you, you've mentioned the term light workers several times. Both of you have. And when I first shared with my husband, Ty, that I'd been invited to speak at a light workers conference, he said, oh, that's interesting, honey. You're going to go? And I said, I had to think about it because there were some circumstances that made it challenging. And I finally get back to him and I said, well, I'm not going to do that conference after all. And he said, well, that's great, because I couldn't understand why you'd want to talk to a bunch of electricians anyway.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, but he was serious, Lee, because he didn't know. He didn't know what a light worker was. So, oh my goodness. Monica, you want to tell anybody who's like Ty, who's new on this journey, that doesn't know what a light worker is?
I say, sure, honey, that's what it is.
It's a bunch of electricians, Ty.
A light worker, we emanate from the light. Actually, I found out from a girlfriend of mine when she was studying the body that at the moment that the sperm and the egg come together in the body, there is a spark of light that is released. So we are literally born in the light, or conceived in the light. And I know a lot of people use the metaphor for the light as the light of the Creator. It's difficult to put into words something where Kryon says that when you're not here, we sing your name in light. Can you imagine that you can hear without ears, see without eyes, and have your name sung in light, and that there is an eternal song, a love song being broadcast by the Creator 24/7. So that when we say light in the light worker terminology, it's because you emanate, you are that light source. When we add the worker to light worker, it's because we have incarnated into dense bodies onto earth with amnesia, if you will, of our true nature. And so we are asked, are we able to discover that light inside or not? So if someone wants to ask, what's my purpose on earth? That's it. Can you find the light inside or not? And the worker is that duality that we're facing. So the light worker is one who understands that is their nature, and it's working through the density of the human experience to constantly remind ourselves that that is our true nature. And when we do, it's having kindness spill out to everyone around us, love and compassion to everyone around us. And that is the work of the light worker. I mean, the metaphor Kryon gives, you're a lighthouse. What do lighthouses do? They stand on their own and they guide ships to safe harbor without even a language. They just shine their light to reveal the pits and dangers in their pathway so they're guided into safe harbor. So that's what you're here to do as a light worker. Just find that joy inside. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Who cares? Not your job. Your job is just to be happy, be the light, and guide people into safe harbor with love, compassion, and kindness.
So we're all light workers. We just, some people might not know it. And
exactly.
The curmudgeon you talked about there, Lee, I love that word, grumpy old person.
It's true. I know you've met him. It's an oxymoron to see somebody come to a conference to hear what they know they're going to hear, and at the same time be so depressed they can hardly, smile. When they leave, I'll tell you, they got a lot to think about. They don't necessarily snap out of it, but boy, there is a lot of things that they learn that help them.
And it's that light within that got them there in the first place. That's what's nudging all of us to watch programs like this, listen to podcasts, and just go more towards the light that's already right here. It's just
also you're going to love this too. Is there are so many people, our work appeals mostly to women. I've always wondered about that. And it's only because, the guys will tell them, well, I'm busy taking care of business. I've got to do this so the women can go and do their fun stuff or whatever. And I've heard this over and over. But sometimes, many times, when we have a conference of several days, the women will bring their husbands. Yeah. And they will then admit to me later that their husband is a closet light worker. They wouldn't have married them otherwise. They wouldn't have married them. They are not in denial of it. They just don't want to come out of the closet. They'll just listen, but they know.
We had an attorney reached out to us when I led my last cruise, and he wrote out and he said, I'm only coming because of my wife, and I promised her I'd sit through 2 of your sessions, and if I didn't want to sit through anymore, I would leave. But you're not going to make me have to, talk to spirits in front of people, are you? And I assured him I was not. And that man is one of the people who received a total physical healing and sat through all 14 hours of workshop. So I know that I love when the women bring their husbands along, and they may go grudgingly to any of these events that you do or I do or anything metaphysical, and they just kind of go, maybe this is worth paying attention to. I
call them drag-alongs. And I welcome the drag-alongs usually first in my conference and saying, I know who you are, and it's okay, and we're not going to make you do anything. And if you go to sleep, just don't snore. Just set the parameters right away. Yeah.
Well, all are welcome on this journey. What do people get out of your Wednesdays with Kryon events?
Well, I think we've done I don't know how many.
Over 250.
Over 200.
Hundreds.
Yeah. So we've done this is our 6th year or so. And it's a time of solace. It's a time of peace. We are barraged all day long, especially if you watch the news or you go to work where they're talking around the water cooler and all you hear is ugly stuff. It's a place where you can simply have solace, hear from guests like Suzanne Giesemann and others who teach processes and channel and do angelic work, and feel better about yourself, learn as you go, and we never, ever talk about current events.
Hey, we can get that elsewhere.
Never. So it's really a place of peace and solace and learning.
Yeah, I think if I had to encapsulate it, it would be, it's a spiritual sanctuary. Mm-hmm. That's what people tune in for. So every week without fail. We have a lot of people say Wednesday's my favorite night of the week. And the other night someone wrote, they call it Weird Wednesdays with Kryon, and they love it. Yeah. And so it's a spiritual sanctuary. And the second part, for a small group, they love to interact on the chat because there's a live stream with a chat. And I tell you, the family in that chat, how they love on each other is just a beauty to behold and witness. And I am in awe of those who tune in to programs like this, because when you know in here what we are sharing and we start communicating with each other at that place, it is a love fest. And it's beautiful.
And we'll air this. We are airing this as a premiere on YouTube, and we have a group that meets every time we air, and they chat off in the side, and it's such a loving, supportive community. and like attracts like, right? So
absolutely. It really does, love to all the chatters right now. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Oh, I feel it. What a beautiful group you are.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for joining us today and just affirming what we already know, why we're here, what we're here to do. And I hope that some people who somehow had not heard of Kryon, or you both, will be intrigued enough to dive in more. And how awesome it would be if you come and join us in Asheville in April, all three of us together at the same place. It's going to be awesome. Soul retreat weekend, soul healing retreat. So thank you so much. Any parting words?
Be the love that you are.
Be the love that you are.
Okay. I love that. That pretty much sums it up. All right. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed our special interview today, and we'll see you back here next week with an Always Connected episode. Have a good one.